The film opens with Chef Paul at his renowned restaurant, Hunger, one of the most prestigious dining establishments in the world. Chef Paul is known for his extreme discipline and unyielding standards. He rules his kitchen with an iron fist, and everyone around him walks on eggshells. For Paul, discipline is everything, so much so that his presence alone induces fear. The kitchen is always under intense pressure. Paul's philosophy is simple: make his guests so ravenous with anticipation that when the food finally arrives, they devour it with urgency, even if it's just mediocre. That's the very essence behind the name Hunger. In a poorer part of town, we meet Aoi, a young woman working alongside her father in their humble restaurant, Shuyao. Aoi is naturally gifted in the kitchen. Despite the restaurant's location in a low-income area, it's always bustling with customers. Their signature dish is fried noodles, prepared using a secret recipe passed down through generations. But Aoi isn't satisfied with this life. She dreams of more. One day, a man dines at her restaurant. After tasting her food, he tells her she's far too talented to stay in such a small place. He hands her a business card for Hunger, suggesting she belongs there. Aoi is stunned but accepts the card and pockets it. Later, she shares the encounter with her friends. They're shocked. How could she not know about Hunger or its head chef, Paul? That night, Aoi looks at the card again. Curious, she searches for more information about the restaurant and its mysterious chef. She finds photos of Paul with celebrities and watches clips of him training young chefs. She becomes so intrigued that she starts losing focus at work. The man returns, and this time, Aoi decides to go with him. She feels nervous about her plain clothes. Hunger is far more luxurious than anything she's ever known. He brings her into the kitchen and asks her to wait. Aoi is in awe of her surroundings. She picks up a knife, but the manager rushes in and shouts at her, startling her enough to drop it. It turns out she isn't the only candidate. Another hopeful chef, Pat, is also there for a cooking test. Only one will be selected. Pat is arrogant and immediately looks down on Aoi, assuming she can't compete with him. A graduate of a top culinary school, Pat is confident he'll win. Chef Paul enters, and instantly, the atmosphere turns heavy. Pat tries to make conversation, but Paul repeatedly shuts him down, reminding him to speak only when spoken to. Paul gives a deceptively simple challenge: make fried rice. Pat laughs at the task and jumps into action. Aoi hesitates at first, but seeing Paul stare, she begins preparing as well. Pat, overconfident, uses freshly cooked rice. Aoi opts for leftover rice and selects a specific pan. Pat mocks her, but Aoi ignores him and focuses. Once they're done, Aoi's dish appears plain, giving Pat even more confidence. Paul tastes Aoi's dish first, then tells Pat to go home without even trying his. Pat protests, calling the judgment unfair, and insists his food is better. Paul slaps him, throws his bag, and kicks him out. He then asks Aoi why she wants to work for him. She says she wants to be special. Paul leans in, telling her that the scent of noodles in her hair doesn't belong in Hunger. He orders her to clean up and prepare herself. Aoi showers, puts on the uniform, and beams with pride as she enters the kitchen. Tun, one of the assistants, introduces her to the team. There are 7 chefs in total, including Chef Paul. He introduces Dong, Paul's second-in-command. Chef King, in charge of cold dishes, sauces, and desserts. The kitchen assistant, and himself, Tun, the head chef's youngest assistant. Tun explains Aoi is replacing someone who was recently fired and will likely handle frying. Paul arrives with an announcement: tomorrow is a VIP birthday party. 15 elite guests, all political heavyweights. The host, General Primak. Theme: meat and blood. Every dish must be juicy, bold, and red in tone. Aoi is assigned the task of frying a rare, premium cut of meat. Paul stresses the importance of the slicing technique and tells her to practice. Nervous, Aoi struggles to get it right. Paul berates her for wasting expensive ingredients. It's her first time handling something so delicate, and the stress is crushing. Each time she cooks, Paul finds fault. He reminds her that if she can't do this, she doesn't belong here. She's given 2 choices: master it or return to her father's noodle shop. Paul storms off. Overwhelmed, Aoi breaks down. Despite the tears, she decides to stay. She practices all night. her hands burned, but her spirit unbroken. The next morning, the team finds her asleep on the kitchen floor. Tun wakes her, noticing her burnt hands. Paul enters, and Aoi jumps up, frying the meat once again. This time, it's flawless. Paul tastes it, silent, then calmly tells the team to suit up for the event. The party is glamorous, packed with VIPs. A rich businessman named Toss, who owns a restaurant empire, enters the kitchen. Paul bluntly reminds him this area is for staff only. Toss had once offered to invest in Hunger, but Paul refused. As the kitchen is open to the guests, Paul instructs Aoi to fry the meat in front of them. Aoi steps up, calm and confident. She nails the dish. The audience applauds her performance. General Primak and the other guests watch with admiration. The final presentation fits the theme perfectly. Deep red, juicy, unforgettable. The food is so good, guests literally lick their plates clean. Toss hands Aoi his card, offering his help if she ever needs it. She later returns to her father's restaurant. Tun invites her to go shopping with him for ingredients. He explains how Paul sources the best produce, often from poor communities, helping them prosper. Aoi is surprised by Paul's hidden kindness beneath the tough exterior. Back at Hunger, she asks Paul for her next assignment. He coldly says there's nothing to fry, so she should clean. She refuses. She didn't join to mop floors. He assigns her to cutting instead, but then criticizes her for being too slow. When she accidentally cuts herself, he tells her frying is all she's good for, warning her not to overestimate her worth. Later, the team preps for another grand event. They chat about the lives of the elite guests. Dong remarks that these people don't actually care about them. Paul is just a status symbol. Aoi visits her father again, preparing him a meat dish. He says it's good, but not as satisfying as the noodles. Her brother teases her for acting superior. Later, she brings noodles to Tun's home. He teaches her how to cut and cook meat properly. She teaches him how to handle a wok. They share a meal and bond over food. The next day, she cooks for Uncle Dong, who critiques her work. He warns her not to get ahead of herself. When King lights a cigarette, Tun warns him smoking is banned. Paul walks in. King hides it, but Paul sees everything. He forces King to put the cigarette in his mouth, then drops it into his soup. He makes him drink it as punishment, warning the team never to endanger his reputation. Paul announces a theft premium meat and foie gras are missing. He demands the thief confess or he'll check the cameras and call the police. Tu confesses, after years of cooking for the wealthy, he had never tasted such food himself. Paul says luxury is only for the rich. If Tu had money, he could hire Paul, but since he doesn't, he's out. Paul declares Aoi will now be his assistant. Dong must cover both her and Tu's duties. The team is stunned, but they have no choice. At their new assignment the next day, Paul explodes when he detects shrimp in a soup. The dish was for a girl with a shellfish allergy. Had she eaten it, it could have been fatal. A new soup is created using nothing more than instant noodle seasoning and tap water. Surprisingly, the family enjoys it. After the event, the team returns to the restaurant, where Paul is furious. He demands an explanation for the mishap. Tun insists shrimp was never on the menu and that everything was prepared in-house. But Paul discovers shrimp in the pot Tun used for the soup. Realizing the truth, Paul confronts Dong. He had tampered with the dish out of jealousy toward Tun and Aoi. Paul erupts in anger, calling Dong a failure. He bans him from ever cooking again. Pushed beyond his breaking point, Dong grabs a knife and stabs Paul. He walks away without a word. Paul is rushed to the hospital, but no friends or family come to visit. Only his restaurant staff remains by his side. The next day, Aoi visits him. She finds him arguing with a nurse, refusing to eat. She brings him fried noodles from her father's restaurant, lovingly prepared. Paul eats them, but as expected, refuses to give her any praise. He scoffs at the idea of cooking with love, calling it a delusion used by the poor to justify their failure. Curious, Aoi asks what inspired him to become a chef. Paul tells a story about a jar of caviar. His mother had worked as a maid for a wealthy family. As a child, Paul often wondered why they couldn't live like the rich, or eat the same extravagant food. One day, He stole a jar of caviar to try it for himself. But before he could, the homeowner's son caught him. Startled, Paul dropped the jar, smashing it. His mother worked for months to repay it, and Paul was forced to clean the mess. As he scrubbed the floor, he tasted it. To his surprise, it was awful. That's when he realized. The poor eat to survive, but the rich chase novelty and status, even if the food is tasteless. He vowed then to become a chef, not to feed people, but to make the rich crave his dishes and need him. Aoi returns home only to find her father seriously ill. She rushes him to the hospital, but there are no available beds. After a desperate plea, the staff agrees to examine him. He undergoes surgery, but is placed in a cramped, unfit space. It's all they can afford. Aoi breaks down in tears, blaming herself for not being there. As she leaves, she sees a shocking news report. A man killed his wife and daughter due to depression and debt. It's the same family they had just cooked for. Aoi is stunned. Why would a broke family hire a luxury chef? Then it hits her. That was Paul's goal all along, to make his food so desirable. People would sacrifice anything to have it. Later, the team ventures deep into the forest. They hunt and capture a rare, illegal bird for cooking. Aoi protests, "This isn't cooking, it's a crime." Paul coldly tells her she'll never be a true chef if she lets emotions lead. Fed up, Aoi quits. Tun follows, also walking away. Back home, Aoi remembers Toss' business card from the General Primsack party. She calls him and sets up a meeting. Toss praises her potential and promises to make her one of the world's top chefs. He sets up a restaurant just for her. They call it Flame. Aoi invites Tun to join. He declines, unwilling to work under her. With a new team assembled, Aoi begins creating. Toss likes her dishes but says they still mimic Paul. He urges her to be bolder. Aoi begins experimenting, determined to surpass Paul. Finally, the grand opening arrives. Media flood the scene, and customers line up. Aoi's restaurant is a hit. Later, she visits Tun's place. It's nearly empty. He's clearly bitter. She tells him he's not lacking talent, just discipline. Tun snaps, saying she sounds just like Paul now. She leaves. She asks Toss to help Tun. Toss dismisses him as ordinary, but agrees to talk. He then tells Aoi about a major upcoming event. Madame Milky's high society birthday party. It's her chance to show the elite what she's made of. Later, Aoi calls O, who congratulates her. He urges her to return. Her father will be discharged soon. But Aoi says she still has more to prove. O says he misses her and that people say she's changed. But Aoi is consumed by ambition. Suddenly, Paul appears. She prepares a dish for him. For the first time, he smiles. When she asks for feedback, he brushes it off. He tells her she's already famous thanks to Toss, but warns her, success makes people cling to it. Just like she lost Tun. He reminds her when he was in the hospital, no one came. Aoi is shaken. Before leaving, Paul says they'll meet again, at Madame Milky's party. She's not the only chef invited. At the party, Aoi is stunned. Guests ask for Paul, not her. She's still unknown. Then Toss arrives, with Tun. He brought him to support her. Tun reminds her to stay focused. The cooking begins. Madame Milky tastes Aoi's dish and is impressed. Suddenly, the lights dim. Paul begins a show, lowering an entire carcass from the ceiling, seasoning it and roasting it live. He locks eyes with Aoi, a silent challenge. The crowd flocks to him, forgetting Aoi. But she doesn't quit. She makes fried noodles, her grandmother's recipe. Memories of her family flood in. She gives a heartfelt speech about cooking with love. Guests are moved, not just by flavor, but emotion. Paul isn't done. He counters with his own noodle soup, using the same spices. The crowd, unaware, is amazed again. Paul approaches Aoi for the final lesson. Taste doesn't matter, perception does. He wins not by flavor, but by reputation. Just then, the police arrive. Phones light up with footage. Paul served a rare bird to a politician. It was the same bird from their forest hunt. Tun had filmed it. With Toss' help, they leaked it. Paul, enraged, believes Aoi betrayed him. He vows to return stronger. Aoi breaks down. She had never wanted this end. She looks at Tun and Toss, heartbroken. Toss says she'll now take Paul's place, thanks to Tun's video. Aoi walks away. Tun follows, saying he chased his dream because of her. She stays silent. She walks the streets, carrying the same pan from her father's kitchen. She sees the poor eating scraps, and finally returns to her father's restaurant. It's closed. She had been the one running it. Seeing her father, she breaks into tears. She makes her choice. She won't return to luxury kitchens. Instead, she'll reopen her father's place, using social media and help from her sister and O. This is where she truly belongs, with her family. She chooses love and authenticity over empty fame. Because in the end, family, security, and love matter more than fortune.